All right, everybody, welcome back to the On Texas Football Special Live edition of the Recruiting Breakdown here on the On Texas Football YouTube channel. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by Jerry Hamilton and Hank South. We're going to recap the month of June, which is in the books after today. Today is the last day in the month. Historic month for Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns on the recruiting trail. We've also got just a couple of small updates on some of the targets still on the board for Texas as we head into the backstretch of the summer. But before we do anything else, as everybody's getting in the chat, getting on here, thank you all for your participation. If you got questions, get them lined up in the chat. Super chats, as always, jump to the front of the line. Jerry, let's thank our long-running sponsor on the recruiting breakdown and give a shout-out to Mark Saunders.
Yeah, talk about our 5-star plus, guys. It's Mark Saunders. When it comes to protecting all your stuff, wouldn't it be great to have one place that protects all of it? We got some great news at On Texas Football. That's Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders, who serves the Austin and Round Rock area and the entire state of Texas. That means he's the only insurance agent you'll need. Everything from your home, car and boat to your motorcycle, RV, and ATV. Call Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders' office today, 512-218-8571. Our On Texas Football guarantee, with over 35 years of experience, you'll be in great hands with Texas alum Mark Saunders. Again, give him a call today, 512-218-8571.
All right, thank you, Jerry. Josie, if you want something on Hank, just know he's the biggest Lake Travis football fan in the world. So just know that. Just file that away for future reference. Guys, let's start with a couple updates on some of the big-time targets left out there. We've got two of them. Jerry, Ismail Kamara, we've talked about maybe the timeline speeding up a little bit. What's the latest as we sit here around lunchtime, early afternoon Tuesday?
Still waiting on a date, but we do think first half of July is much more realistic and where kind of things have been headed versus where it was November, December, right? But we await a date, but I do think at this point, people recruiting him, all of us that cover it, would be surprised if it's not at least by mid-July. But again, we wait. These things can change. Obviously, this is a fluid recruitment. I haven't used that term very much in this cycle. This is a fluid recruitment just because the academic progress that Kamara has to make coming from France to the United States to get qualified for college. There's a lot of things that is in his orbit right now outside of just recruiting. And football. And so I do think first half of July. I think it could be early July as well. I think that's a possibility, but we'll wait for word from him or his camp. And look, I think Texas is in a good spot. They had the last visit. We're now in the dead period until no on-campus visits until September, start of high school or college football season. Texas will get the last in-person word. He went to SMU twice unofficially in June as well. But we like where Texas sits, but you still got to get it through the finish line.
Hank, get anything on Monshun Sales, the 5-star receiver out of Indianapolis?
Yeah, so I checked in with his camp. They're still in the decision-making mode, so there's no decision date set yet. July 10th has kind of been thrown around. I'm not saying that's going to be the day, but that's kind of the range we're talking about between now and July 10th. And this is one, I think is still worth paying attention to if you're a Texas fan. They had him in last for that June 19th through 21st weekend, and had a great time by all accounts. That was Monshun's second visit to Austin. It was his mom's first. And they had a really good time. Obviously, they were blown away. I think Texas has been very impressed with him and having him on campus and their evaluation of Monshun Sales. But at the same time, he's very close with Indiana. Obviously, from Indianapolis, the Hoosiers are pushing hard for him. Alabama is where he's originally from. They've been trying to get him. We think Alabama's kind of tailed out a little bit on his recruitment. We think it's more Indiana, Ohio State, and even to an extent LSU, which snuck in and got that official visit a few days prior to him coming back to Texas. And what's interesting there is LSU's, obviously going heavy trying to flip Easton Royal. I think they're gung-ho on getting one of these guys, whether it's Easton Royal or Monshun Sales. That makes me kind of consider LSU a little bit closer in the race for Monshun Sales as well. But yeah, right now they're discussing it as a family. Texas is still in very active communication with Monshun Sales and his whole camp, and they certainly have a spot for him. Nothing's changed. Even getting Bryson Thrower and Kyron Brown, they still want Monshun Sales in this class, and obviously they want to hold on to Easton Royal as well. But this is one we're tracking closely.
Jerry, I want to go to Landon Williams-Callis real quick because you've said something a couple of times in the last week or so, really since he came off the OV, that the more I think about it, the more it makes sense for me. The fact that he can see himself being the next great running back at Texas for a running from the state of Texas to follow that lineage. I know we're talking about NIL and there's a lot of factors, Jerry, but I just keep honing in on that might mean maybe more than we think it does.
When I was told that meant a lot to me, because that means they're thinking about this recruiting process in a little bit different way than even we had imagined, right? The fact that somebody in his circle can envision him wearing that Texas jersey and being the next great running back out of the Longhorns, out of the Texas program, to wear the Longhorns jersey, I should say, that's pretty telling. Look, the thing he's got around him, and I'm not saying that means you're going to Texas, right? I think Texas, there's some confidence in Austin, but again, let's see where these things go. I'll have something on his decision possibility, his date timeline in a second, but look, it's the people around him are very experienced in this game of football and in recruiting and in the NFL and in relationships with their coaches, position coaches, whether at NFL or college. Michael Lewis obviously was a tremendous player at Lamar Consolidated, then Colorado, then was an all-pro safety. He's kind of the mentor and kind of running it, for better the term, Landon Williams recruitment for him, so he has the help he needs from a family standpoint. And then Jaquiz Rogers. He's related to Jaquiz Rogers, who played at Oregon State and in the NFL. Those guys have tons of experience with position coach relationships, head coach relationships, from having been there, done that. Not from talking about, hey, this is why this should be important. They've actually been through it. So I think he's got really good counsel on his side. And he's also got guys who have played at the highest level, which that's what this is all about for Landon. And also building a legacy. Jaquiz Rogers has a legacy at Oregon State, by the way. Yeah. So these guys understand this. So the way that I heard one person was saying, hey, Landon, if he goes to Texas, could be the next great running back to wear the Texas jersey. That, Jeff, that meant a lot to me too. Mm-hmm. And Texas obviously is in it from an NIL standpoint. And the one thing about his recruitment, and maybe I'm wrong, because I do think SMU is making a run here, I just have a hard time believing at the end of the day that Landon Williams-Callis grew up dreaming of wearing an SMU uniform. I just, that's not a knock on SMU. Just think about where these kids are at, these top prospects. They grew up looking at the SEC, Ohio State, Oregon. He took 8 official visits.
Yeah.
One was Oregon. He always liked Oregon. He fits like the type of player who would like Oregon too, right? I mean, they've had guys like him. Maybe not as talented, but they've had guys like him. But then you look at his visits: Texas, Texas A&M, Missouri, and LSU. 4 SEC OVs. Half his OVs were SEC, obviously. So, I think he's going to stay in state. So, is this really going to come down to Texas versus Texas A&M? I think it has the potential to. I just have a hard time believing, and I could be wrong, that he grew up saying, man, playing at SMU, playing, even though they weren't playing in the ACC, is my dream. I just don't see it that way. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I think that'd be a little bit of a surprise to me.
Yeah, Texas already has one tremendous back in the class in Noah Roberts, and going for another with Landon Williams-Callis. Hank, real quick, we'll get to questions here in a minute. So if you got them, get them in, get them lined up. Super Chats, as always, jump to the front of the line. Hank, the only decision that's on the books that's locked in for a Texas target is tomorrow. Brandon Sherrard, the corner out of Shadow Creek. Feels like this one's maybe been trending towards a Texas LSU battle. Hank, you got anything as we sit here on the eve of decision day for Brandon Sherrard?
Yeah, no, I think there's confidence at Texas right now. Obviously got him in. For a while it was looking like LSU may be running away with it, but Texas was able to get him scheduled back for that June 19th through 21st visit. Key here as well is recruiting him more as a cornerback, I believe. Catch me if I'm wrong on that, or correct me if I'm wrong on that, Jerry. Yeah. But that's kind of changed, I guess, the calculus to this recruitment in Texas's pursuit here. But yeah, Shadow Creek, a school that Texas is very familiar with. LSU was kind of in the driver's seat. I think Texas took back that momentum, or any perceived momentum LSU may have had on their official visit. And with his July 1st announcement set for tomorrow, I think Texas is in good shape. Obviously, you have to get it there. You have to get it over the finish line. But it seems like they're doing all the right things, and particularly, with Dylan McGee going elsewhere, we've seen some cornerback decisions go elsewhere. Obviously, also one out on Montre Jackson, John Meredith, of course. They want to get another cornerback in this class, and Sherrard's really the only guy in the mix right now prior to senior evals and whatnot. So I think they're in a good spot, 24 hours out.
All right. Thank you, Hank. All right. We'll go ahead and get to your questions again. Get them lined up if you got them. Jerry, we'll start with this. Ekim4363. Does July look fruitful in landing top recruits? Jerry, there's just not much out there. I'd like to point everybody to a piece our colleague CJ Vogel wrote this morning over on TexasFootball.com. June 2026 is tied with June 2022 for the biggest month of commitments at Texas in the Steve Sarkisian era with 11. That June 2022, obviously, Arch Manning was a part of that. Trevor Gooseby, Jonte Cook, Leonga Lafau, Spencer Shannon, Andre Kojo, Derek Williams. This one is right there with it with 11. Jerry, I don't want to, be the wet blanket here, but I mean, it's hard to expect a lot of fireworks in July after a historic June for Texas.
Yeah, this cycle has really started. Everybody's moving up their process. Everybody's committing earlier. I think these colleges have changed the game a little bit, giving expirations to NIL offers. Everybody's moving forward with these processes unless you hold the ultimate leverage. And you're seeing how few guys actually hold the ultimate leverage. Let's just be real about it. And those are the Monshun Sales, the Ismail, those guys that are ranked top 30 in America. Nobody's going to leverage them into a commitment. Otherwise, the guys, look, when you start giving expiration dates on NIL offers, then that does force the hand of agents and players. And I also think that's a big part of it. But I also think this, guys, is the process is moving earlier and earlier. We had more official visits taken in April than the prior year. We have more unofficial visits by multiple players to multiple schools multiple times. So I think everything is moving these processes up, and I think that is really where we're at, why we don't have as many July guys. And I think that's going to be a trend that continues. So when you look at it, Sherrard commits or announces his decision on the 1st tomorrow. We believe that's LSU or Texas. Been some confidence in Austin. LSU had a big lead prior to the Texas OV. Then you look at 3 guys. What do all 3 of those guys have in common? 5-star ranking, close to or 5-star ranking, and top 10 in America ranking. So I think that's where we're headed in this recruiting process, high school level, for the foreseeable future. I don't think this is just a one-year anomaly. I think this is going to be your trend. So I expect more years like this, Jeff. The long-winded answer is we're going to see more commitments early with less decisions to be made in July.
Good stuff, Jerry. Hank, AJJ1213 has a question that is very much worth getting into. It says, Noah Roberts okay with Landon Williams-Callis coming, or should we be on watch for him to flip? If I can read that right today. Hank, I've said it before. Texas hit a grand slam in running back recruiting already in 26 with Noah Roberts. If they ended up with just Noah Roberts in the class, they'd love their class if he's the lead dog.
Yeah, prior to the Landon Williams-Callis momentum, it was, if they weren't going to get him, I think we were going to see Texas go into the fall, or depending if they get him or not, go into the fall, maybe do some senior evals, maybe even go to the portal, depending on what happens next offseason, if they need to fill some holes in the running back room. Obviously, that could, whether it be NFL guys going or guys transferring out. But no, Noah Roberts, he's made a very calculated decision in choosing Texas, and in every school he was considering is a school that's going to bring in high-level guys. So I don't think he is shy about competition. And really, I think recruits, particularly at the running back position, see the value in having, a running mate in the class. You don't want to be the main guy and just have your body wear down over the course of 3 or 4 years in college or 5 years, and then get to the NFL with, only so much shelf life in a position that's already not a very, conducive to longevity. So, I think Noah Roberts is very happy with Texas. I don't think he's going to shy away if they recruit another running back or get a guy like Landon Williams-Callis, because I think there's benefit to that for him as well, to share the load a little bit and still be able to showcase your own talents.
Jerry, got a couple of Landon Williams-Callis related questions too. Why, and both kind of the same, so we'll get to both of them. Why Block 12 asks, is it true that Landon Williams-Callis wants to go to a place that he'll be the starter day one or be a starter day one? And then Gavin Spangler, in the same vein, said, is Landon Williams-Callis going to a smaller school to become an instant starter in 2027?
That would be the only reason you see him not go to an SEC school. And look, if you're SMU, that's what you're trying to sell him on. Yeah. No offense to the other running backs they have, but you come here, you're the guy day one. Clear path, clear runway. Runway's cleared for your takeoff. Just get up here to Dallas. That's what you're selling, Landon Williams-Callis. I've not heard that will be a difference maker in his decision. Doesn't mean it won't, but I have not heard that will be a difference maker in this decision. But look, are people, is a U of H, is an SMU, or is that their sales job in recruiting to him? Absolutely it is.
Hank, I'm going to put you on the spot with a couple of wide receiver questions. Hookem from Arkansas asked, how confident are you guys that we keep Easton Royal? And then Brian asked, what do you think our chances percentage-wise are of getting Sales?
Yeah, I think Texas is the favorite to hang on to Easton Royal. I wouldn't say I'm sitting here, with an abundance of confidence that he's going to stick. There is heavy push from LSU, but I will say they got through OV season. He didn't flip on his visit to LSU, despite what a lot of the hubbub was about him not even taking the Texas visit. He was going to flip to LSU. That didn't happen. So I think that's a good sign. I think he sees the value of going to Texas and the opportunity there. And I think he committed for a reason. So I would put Texas as the favorite to keep him. I'm not going to stay there. He's not even considering LSU or Florida, but I think they have the inside track to hang on to him. Cautiously optimistic. Monshun Sales, I think what Jerry, you put 31% today on your story?
Yeah, I was having fun because he wears number one. So it's 30% plus his number one.
Okay,
People didn't pick up on my story. I had Kamara at 72%. He wears 72. I had Sherrard at 72 because he wears 10. That's times 7 is 70. Chris Stewart wore 2, so 72 there. Nobody had fun with me on my percentages. I'm disappointed in Joe Z and others on Texas football at that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I would probably lean with Jerry there in that kind of lower range. There's still some life there. I think Texas. I think Indiana probably still trending a little bit. Ohio State. There's some heavyweight programs in there. I think we're all in agreement that Alabama is probably fading out of it, which is a big deal. That was the team with the early, the early picks for them being from Birmingham. But we'll see. Again, the longer this goes on, the longer I think that probably bodes well for Texas, that he's actually fully considering maybe making that move.
Jerry, I'm going to pull the pin on this territorial grenade and let you land on it. Bevo Scott, his cousin. Does Houston have more top talent than DFW and Austin? It feels like Houston is a big talking point these days. Jerry, everybody's prideful about their area. It's cyclical, but where do you think things stand right now?
No. Look, and I'm from Houston. I grew up in Houston. My dad coached in Houston for a long time. But no. Look, Dallas is winning titles in football and basketball for a reason. They have the most talent. And they have some serious high-end talent in those two sports. Does that mean Houston's not producing NFL players? No, it doesn't. Sometimes this just comes down to the population, or a lot of times it comes down to the population. The density of population, if you look at who the talent producers are, the most drafted players from cities, it's going to be Houston. It's going to be Atlanta. It's going to be those areas. It's going to be Dade County. It's going to be that Miami area. So that, I think it's two different things, but I do think Dallas right now just has more high-end talent across the board at all positions. And I think that's the key. I think Dallas has bigger guys right now. And when you talk to high school coaches outside of a select few in the Houston area, they're like, we talk about it. They're like, guys are just bigger in Dallas right now. They have more big-bodied athletes in Dallas right now. So I just think Dallas is ahead. It's been a pretty long cycle. I will say that in basketball and football. Now, it's been a pretty long cycle. I think Houston compares better to other cities around the country than it compares to Dallas right now. I just think DFW is just just loaded, man, right now. I mean, if you go, North Crowley has probably 25 to 30 Division I players at that school. North Shore has great coaches, great staff. They don't have 25 to 30 D1 guys right now. They probably have more like 15 or 20. Duncanville is carrying that 25, 30, 35 number for a long time, probably still is close to it. There are guys right now up along I-20 in Dallas, and then your Friscos are popping out guys. People are moving in there more so. DFW is just more talented right now, and we'll see but how long that cycle runs. I think the thing about Houston is it's more spread out too. You know, when Fort Bend started building schools every 2,300 kids, they diluted their own talent at their schools. They built so many schools. Cy Ferris had to build a lot of schools. Allen has kept it a one-school town, right? And then you have Lovejoy built off of that, but 8,500 students. So I think Houston has built a lot more schools. You know, if Fort Bend was sitting there with 5 high schools right now, their talent would be as diluted, and they'd be competing for a state championship, but they don't have the players. They're too spread out. But to your point, or to answer your question, I think DFW is more talented right now, football and basketball. There's a reason they're winning all the titles.
Hank, you and I are products of the I-35 corridor going through the Austin metro area. It's getting better, and I think Blake Bryant asked it. I don't think Jerry heard the Austin part of the question. Austin, it's getting better, but it's not – it'd be disingenuous, Hank, for me to sit here and suggest that it's on the level with Houston or DFW right now.
No, not at all. But I agree with you. I mean, we're seeing programs on the rise. Vandegrift has had a lot of success in recent years. I mean, Cedar Park had a little run there. You know, obviously Westlake and Lake Travis are always going to have their schools. But, you know, I'm seeing, you know, I was down in Kyle the other day. It looks like Hayes is building a indoor facility too. So, I mean, they're coming up. You know, I'm trying to think of other schools that are on the rise in the area. But yeah, I mean, you can't match that to and San Antonio for that matter too. You can't match those areas to Dallas and Houston in terms of output right now.
We will get to the super.
Antoine makes some great points. I want to give Antoine credit.
Yeah,
Weiss is the school that is coming on down there. They got a lot of guys, not a lot. They got a few guys in football. They got a few guys in basketball too. That Pflugerville Weiss has some talent in both sports. Rolling.
Yeah, Georgetown too. Texas just signed 2 out of Georgetown. So,
yeah,
no doubt. We've got a super chat. We'll get to that here in just a second. But Jerry, one more time, let's thank our long-running sponsor on the recruiting breakdown and give a shout out to Mark Saunders.
Yeah, when it comes to protecting all your stuff, wouldn't it be great to have one place that protects it all? Here's some good news. We have Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders for you. He serves the Austin and Round Rock area in the entire state of Texas. That means he's the only insurance agent you'll need. Everything from your home, car, and boat to your motorcycle, RV, and ATV. Call Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders' office today, 512-218-8571. Our On Texas Football Guarantee, for those who just came into the chat and the stream, with more than 35 years of experience, you'll be in great hands with Texas alum Mark Saunders. Do what so many other On Texas football community members have done the last couple of years. As I cough, give Mark Saunders a call, 512-218-8571. Allergies are crushing me.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. We've got kind of 2 questions. Antoine's got a question that plays into Dante Payne's super chat. Antoine says, Ismail Kamara and Brian Swanson, Kelvin Banks and Cam Williams 3 and out. And Dante asks, is Ismail Kamara a Michael Fasusi type recruit, a guy that can compete early to get on the field? Hank, Jerry, whichever one of you guys wants to start. I don't want to put pressure on guys, but man, you talk about a Kelvin Banks. Those guys are special. They are the exception to the rule for high school offensive linemen.
Yeah, and I would say this for Kamara, just kind of, sorry, Hank, but
very good.
To kind of slow down some of the Kamara rankings versus football talk, because I think his upside's amazingly high. Tremendous athlete. He hasn't played as much football. I mean, Kelvin Banks was at Summer Creek playing in that district against North Shore, Port Arthur Memorial. Atascocita, and he was doing it for 4 years on varsity. And he was playing for Kenny Harrison, one of the best offensive coaches in the state, a lifetime Longhorn. He's played a lot of offensive line his whole life. Cam Williams was at Duncanville. He was, you go up there for spring practice. Cam Williams is playing a lot of offensive line. He was a large human. He's going up against guys that are Power 4 going to Ohio State, Colin Simmons of the world. I mean, these guys were battle tested and prepared, and it still took Cam Williams time. Kelvin Banks, there just aren't many guys like that. Brian Swanson's played against really good competition. I think Brian Swanson would be probably more ready to factor in early if that possibility arose. I think Ismail Kamara is best football because of how young he is in the game and how much he's kind of gotten his orbit as he's getting ready to be a college football player. His learning curve is steeper. So his best football is going to be way out in front of him. We got to see how he does his senior year. Maybe he just makes a miraculous jump on the field. But just think about the things he hasn't seen as an offensive lineman in his life yet. The things he hasn't seen are a lot more than the things he has seen. So his runway is going to be longer, in my opinion.
Anything to add on that, Hank?
No, yeah, I think Jerry touched on it. Well, I mean, I would say, guys that are higher NIL, you probably want to play as early as possible because you want to put that money to good use. But at the same time, you got to preserve the fact that it's a developmental position, and it's dependent upon, what does the offensive line room look like next year? And this is all assuming if Ismail Kamara comes in, what does that room look like? Does Brandon Baker have a heck of a year and go pro? Obviously, we expect Gooseby to go, and we'll see on Melvin Sinai and other positions, but we'll see what that room looks like. They have some guys in the room already that I think are on the way up. So, but I think that would be the hope for any big recruitment in the NIL era that they can contribute as early as possible.
All right, Josie is plotting Jerry's demise here in the chat, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. This is as good a place as any to. Allergies are they're terrible for all of us right now, Jerry. So we're all trudging through it. But hey, Hank, Jerry, thank you guys for the knowledge, the intel, the expertise as always. Huge shout out to Matthew behind the scenes for producing it, doing the great job that he does. Big shout out to Mark Saunders, our long-running sponsor here on the Recruiting Breakdown. Just want to remind everybody, if you're not a member over at ontexasfootball.com, now is the time to get over there. If you love recruiting, nobody has more boots on the ground, has more consistent recruiting intel than the OTF staff. $3 for your first 3 months of access at ontexasfootball.com for new subscribers. This offer will not last forever. So, again, take advantage today. $3 for your first 3 months of access for new subscribers over at ontexasfootball.com. And make sure before we're done that you hit that like button. Make sure that you're subscribed to the On Texas Football YouTube channel, and make sure you've got your notifications set. That way, anytime we drop a new video or go live, you're not missing any of our Longhorn coverage or breaking news. Don't forget, tonight we've got the normal Tuesday night live stream. That'll be myself and CJ Vogel. So we'll be back here in a matter of hours taking your questions, comments, and everything else. If you got a question we didn't get to it, you can submit it to us tonight, and we will get it answered tonight on the Tuesday night live stream. So until then, for Hank, for Jerry, for Matthew, for the entire On Texas Football staff, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and until next time,